to find collisions in the replaced SHA-1, SHA-1 with these linear steps instead of nonlinear steps. You generate a bunch of collisions, and then you use these collisions to find collisions in the actual SHA-1. The better the linear approximation to the actual nonlinear approximation, the better the attack is going to work. With this attack, they were able to break 53 rounds of SHA-1, though full SHA-1 uses actually 80 rounds, so it's not a full break of SHA-1, and it's unlikely to be. With a lot of algorithms, DES, for example, you can break DES up to 4 or 8 or whatever number of rounds, but full DES is perfectly fine. Okay. The most devastating attack against SHA-1 is also due to the same people that broke MD5, and that's Wang's team in China. The full paper is still unpublished. No one's actually seen it except the translators. And the belief is that they actually had these results for quite a while, but no one took a look at them because they couldn't understand the writing. There's another error in the slide that should actually be 2 to the 69 instead of 2 to the 6 times 9. The claim is that collisions can now be found in SHA-1 in only 2 to the 69 steps. So this reduces the birthday paradox attack from 2 to the 80 work to 2 to the 69 work. It's a pretty significant reduction, but 2 to the 69 is still beyond the computing power. It's at the outermost edge of the computing power of the world right now. Even though the paper is still unpublished, Wang and her team are reputable cryptographers. They have, you have the MD5 collisions, the MD4 collisions, Havel and SHA-0 collisions, and they've done enough work that if they make the claim, it's reasonable to believe they can actually do it. It's important to stress that no collisions have actually been found, so SHA-1, I guess if you want to take the non-academic definition, it's yet to be broken because systems have not been compromised yet. I can't explain their attack because the attack is not known. It's not been published. So, this is sort of the opinion of NIST and NIST's response to the attacks. How much time do I have left? 5 minutes. Okay. This is NIST's response to the attacks. NIST has always said that MD5 should never be used. It's not a government standard, so it can't be used in government applications. These attacks just further give evidence to our claim that MD5 should not be used. Everyone's urged to either use SHA-1 or SHA-2, and it's not just NIST that has been saying this. Cryptographers the world over have been saying for years now that MD5 shouldn't be used. Okay. Because collisions have not been found in SHA-1, and because the complexity to find collisions is still 2 to the 69 operations, it's NIST's belief that SHA-1 is still fine in most applications. There's a lot of scenarios where SHA-1 isn't in trouble. With HMAC, for example, with SSL and TLS, the SSL and TLS protocols, SHA-1 or MD5 is used as an HMAC to provide integrity of packets that are sent between the server and client, to make sure that an attacker hasn't modified anything. The attacker doesn't know the internal state of the hash function when the hash function begins processing the message, so he can't generate just collisions and expect them to work. He would have to generate all these collisions for all possible keys. So if you're using a large enough key, he has to do 2 to the 69 work, 2 to the 256 times, or I guess it'd only be 2 to the 160 times. So, yeah, which is such a large number that it's not going to happen. Because the complexity of these attacks is still so large, NIST believes that SHA-1 is still safe in most applications up until 2010. We're urging people that if they need security past 2010, that they should migrate to SHA-2, and this has sort of always been our stance. We really haven't changed our opinion of this just because of the attacks. So anything before 2010, we're saying you can still use SHA-1. NIST had planned to phase out SHA-1 by 2010 anyway, simply because computing power gets stronger. Computers get faster. In the future, NIST probably will not replace SHA-1. Because we're already starting to phase it out, we see no need to release a new SHA standard to replace SHA-1. Again, the complexity of the attack is still high enough. Currently, there are no known attacks against the SHA-2 algorithms. The SHA-2 family is SHA-256, 384, and 512. And I guess you can include SHA-224, which is simply 256 truncated. The attacks against MD5 and SHA-1 do not work against SHA-2. There's no known attacks against SHA-2. The internal structure of the SHA-2 algorithms are different. The only paper I think that I've seen on SHA-2 results is Phil Hawke's corrective patterns paper, which he just makes a few observations. He doesn't present any results. For those people still requiring 160 bits of security, NIST is considering releasing a truncation standard, and what we would do is we would release a standard that that specified how to take SHA-256 and correctly truncate it down to 160 bits. But again, that only gives you 2 to the 80 strength against the birthday attack, and soon enough, 2 to the 80 is not going to be large enough. So, it's just sort of something until everyone is migrated to SHA-2, which they should be anyway, absent any of these other attacks. Again, applications such as HMAC and a bunch of others are unaffected. I can't really list all the applications not affected. HMAC is probably the most, the best example of it. So. And it's not to say that if you have some application using SHA-1 that, just because you use HMAC you're immune, or because you're not using HMAC you're fine. So I guess that's it. I'd just like to thank everyone at NIST, and also like to thank the Notacon staff for throwing this conference. And these are my references. And that's it. Anyone have any questions? Yes?
Just one really quick question.
Okay.
I know that these collision attacks kind of represent the first breaking down for a lot of hash functions out there right now. In your opinion, do you think that any sort of collision attacks or collision attacks would be far behind?
Okay, yes. I actually wanted to make this point. Thank you for asking. It's sort of interesting that for how many years there were no serious attacks against any of these hash functions, and then all of a sudden they were all broken. With one paper, 4 hash functions that were believed to be reasonably safe. I say reasonably because no one trusted MD4, but still no one had really found serious attacks against it. With this, now Havo and RIPE-MD, MD4 and SHA-0 were broken. Then MD5 was totally broken. SHA-1 was broken. So if you look at any of the conferences in the past couple months since the MD5 results, before there was no real papers on hash functions. Now that's all anyone is submitting is hash function papers. So pretty much the entire cryptographic community has switched to try and breaking hash functions because now they know it can be done. And so yes, now you have the entire cryptographic community looking at hash functions and how to break them, whereas before you only had, when you look at the attacks, the name that kept coming up was Zhu. Zhu was the main one doing the attacks prior to this. Now everyone is doing the attacks. So I don't want to speculate on if any attacks are going to come out in the next couple months, but you now have everyone looking at these. So it's reasonable to believe that, yes, perhaps some more results will come out. Any other questions? Okay. I think my time's up anyway. Okay.